Greetings in Jesus' wonderful name and welcome to Riverside Chats. I continue with the series I began on Leah. I appreciate some of the feedback I've been getting from the listeners. I appreciate your faithful listening and learning. I'm learning too. And Leah has a lot to teach us. Today we're going to take a little different slant on this teaching on Leah and talk about marriage. Things we can learn about marriage from Leah. There are lessons to be learned. Now, I've had two marriages in my life. I've had two wives, but one at a time. I was married to my first wife for 6 years and 4 months, and then she died. She died at the age of 31. I'm now married to my second wife, Cheryl, and we are married over 36 years. Marriage is always better than being single for me. But some people have been gifted with the gift of celibacy. The gift of celibacy is the gift of staying single. Paul talks about how it's better to marry than to burn. Paul is saying, if you have a hard time keeping chaste, if you have a hard time keeping sexually pure, then get a wife to gratify your sexual urges. Paul said it's better to marry than to burn with lust. Now, there are some churches that have adopted the theory of how pastors should not marry, priests should not marry. That is not a biblical idea at all. It is the invention of some churches. It is not biblical doctrine at all. Looking at Leah, she had a poor marriage. And from this poor marriage, we can learn some truths about marriage. You don't blame Jacob entirely. He wanted Rachel, but he was tricked into marrying Leah. Jacob wanted one wife, but he ended up having two wives and two concubines, if you had to call them that. He had children through the servants of his wives. The first lesson we're going to focus today on marriage that we glean from the life of Leah is marriage should always be built on truth. Because a marriage that is built on lies and deceit and distrust is a catastrophe. If you're seeking a spouse, seek a good spouse. Seek a spouse in the right place. The first wife I met at Bible college. So we were in sync with doctrine. We actually came from the same church at that time. We were at the Bible college, the Johannesburg Bible College. The Bible says believers should not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. Now, some people say you shouldn't marry out of your race. I believe there's one race, and that's the human race. You can marry from any race. Moses married a black woman when his wife died. And Miriam mocked him because he married a black woman. She was a Cushite. And God judged her severely. There is one prohibition against marriage, and that is believers should not be yoked with unbelievers. You should marry someone who's a Christian. If you marry someone who's not a Christian, you're violating God's command as a Christian. You might say, but I'm hoping she becomes a Christian. I'm hoping he becomes a Christian. No, you wait on God. You know, sometimes we get to a certain age and we say, well, it's either make or break. My biological clock is ticking and I won't be able to have any children soon. But those that wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They will mount up with wings as eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. I remember a secretary at the Johannesburg Bible Institute when I was a student there. I was only 18 and she was a lovely young lady. And she always desired to get married, but she waited for the right partner. And then all of a sudden, the right guy came, and she couldn't have found a better fellow. God is awesome. He's always faithful. Don't try to help God. God needs no help. Marriage should not be built on lies and deceit and distrust. The foundations for marriage for Leah were wrong. The Bible does not tell us whether Leah was forced to do the switch. Maybe she loved Jacob herself because nobody was coming for her. And now she had the opportunity of being the wife of Jacob. The Bible does not tell us about whether she was excited about it. She reluctantly went into it. We don't want to speculate. Either way, this was just not a good situation. It was built on lies and deceit. Jacob had not fallen in love with Leah. Now, in some cultures, it's very important that you have a good relationship with your father. Your parents seek a bride for you or a husband for you. And sometimes you just go blindly into a marriage. Now, I've been to India many times, and sometimes we look at the rate of divorce in the Indian culture, and we say, well, there's hardly any divorce, so arranged marriages work well. It does work well in some instances. Some people believe that, in India, they talk about a love marriage and an arranged marriage. I thank God that God arranges my partner, and my parents are good parents. There were some objections to me marrying my first wife because she was from another race group, and God is awesome. We were very compatible, and later my parents just loved her because they knew that she was the right choice for me. She died early. They gave me two lovely boys. They are now 42 and 39. And one is, at this moment, guarding, doing security detail at the Republican convention in Milwaukee. So, as you know, we had the misfortune of an assassination attempt on President Trump, former President Trump, and the nominee for this cycle of election. God worked providentially. He just turned his head and the bullet grazed his ear. He's well. God works in wonderful ways. Back to marriage. As she watched this hard-working Jacob, as she watched how blessed he was for 7 years, there's a possibility that her heart might have fallen in love for Jacob. Now, this is speculation, but it's not too far-fetched. When your sister has a loving spouse, and when she is younger than you, and she has a proposal for marriage and you have none, it is difficult. But entering into a marriage with deceit is terrible. Now, Leah had no choice. She lived in a culture where she had to obey her father. She had to do what he wanted. But this probably could have worked out to her advantage, thinking, well, Jacob would love me. Jacob never trusted again. No matter what she did, she could never win him over. A marriage built on lies will not be successful. Now, what about you? Maybe you are contemplating marriage, but you've not told your intended spouse the whole truth. You are keeping some secrets. Lay it all down. If you've had affairs in the past, if you were married in the past, If you were divorced, lay it all down before you marry. Don't think of getting married before being transparent. The word is transparency. When I was courting my second wife, Cheryl, and I've been married to her much longer than my first wife, there are many things I had to learn. You cannot be married to a dead person. She is gifted and she is loved in her own right. She was not there just to fulfill an open spot. If I married her to take care of the children, that would have been a catastrophe. I had to marry her for myself. God blessed me. My wife died in South Africa when I was here in the United States years ago. I was here in the United States for 26 days when she died. It was a shock, but I'm a realist. I loved her, but I couldn't be married to a dead person. And if you live well, you heal well. There were no regrets. We loved each other. And God enabled me to marry for love. Oh, true, I was hurt. I married within the year, almost a year, after she died. But love grew. But initially, there was love. So if you have lost a spouse early in life, there's nothing wrong with marrying. Maybe you say, well, I made a vow to my spouse. My dead husband, before he passed away, said, would you promise me you'll never marry any again? That's stupidity. He's gone. And she's gone. And making vows to a dead person is very selfish of that person. We will not be able to hide secrets after we get married. With time, it'll spill out. And once somebody distrusts you, they will never be able to trust you again. Again, you don't blame Leah. It's speculation to think that when her father suggested that they switched places on the night of the wedding, she thought, well, this is an opportunity for me to get married. I don't know. But if she did, this marriage was built on distrust, lies, and deceit. Don't get married to somebody that you have a check mark against. Now, sometimes in a courtship, you realize some things about the person. I would encourage you, don't get married. Because it's better to break an engagement than to break a marriage. Is divorce the unpardonable sin? No. Will God forgive divorce? Yes, He forgives divorce like any other sin. Some people have been divorced and they've been remarried and they have a wonderful relationship. We are looking at what Leah teaches us about marriage. The first lesson we learned is marriage should not be built on mistrust, lies, and deceit. Be transparent. God bless you and love you.